Firearms, guns, more weapons, specifically available through the optional rule in the DMG. We're gonna take a look at it today and then see if it's overpowered or not. Welcome to Pack Tactics, where casters wear armor and monks use guns. Let's just start. DMG. If you want to model the swashbuckling style of the Three Musketeers and similar tales, you can introduce gunpowder weapons to your campaign that are associated with the Renaissance. Similarly, in a campaign where a spaceship has crashed or elements of modern-day Earth are present, futuristic or modern firearms might appear. The firearms table provides examples of firearms from all three of those periods. The modern and futuristic items are priceless. While raw, all the firearms in the DMG are martial weapons, and would thus be granted by any feature which gives you proficiency in martial weapons, as long as you use the optional rule for firearms. The DMG also says this: it's up to you to decide whether a character has proficiency with a firearm. Characters in most D&D worlds wouldn't have such proficiency. During their downtime, characters can use the training rules in the player's handbook to acquire proficiency, assuming that they have enough ammunition to keep the weapon working while mastering their use. To me, this means that somebody that doesn't have the proficiency in martial weapons or whatever can train to get the proficiency. But I think the intent here is that it's likely that even characters with martial weapons can't immediately use guns. But Kobold! Everyone should have the right to keep and bear. Gator, here's something interesting, and this is pretty weird. The player handbook doesn't have any rules about training to obtain weapon proficiency. Only languages or tools. There's nothing about how much ammo you need or anything. No idea if they just wrote the firearm section before the player's handbook. Maybe they just forgot. I don't know. But here's a better way to get the proficiency. It's from Tashes. This feat is called Gunner. It's a half feat to gain proficiency in the firearms. You ignore the loading property of firearms. And being within 5 feet of a hostile creature doesn't impose disadvantage on your ranged attack rolls. For some math later on in the video, I will assume firearms need proficiency specifically, not just martial weapon proficiency. That means that all the builds will start with the Gunner feat at level 1 through custom lineage. Anyways, next, firearms also have special new properties, or well, 2 new ones and 1 changed one. Let's start with ammunition. The ammunition of a firearm is destroyed upon use. The Renaissance and modern firearms use bullets. Futuristic firearms are powered by a special type of ammunition called energy cells. An energy cell contains enough power for all the shots its firearms can make. I can only imagine that this is supposed to replace only the last sentence of the first paragraph of the original ammunition rules, which mentions that you can recover ammunition. Let's go with that. Next, we have burst fire. A weapon that has the burst fire property can make a normal single target attack, or it can spray a 10-foot cube area within normal range with shots. Each creature in the area must succeed on a DC 15 dexterity saving throw, or take the weapon's normal damage. This action uses 10 pieces of ammunition. Again, this is unclear. I read this as being able to replace an attack with burst fire rather than replacing an action with burst fire. If so, then this is quite strong. Even with sharpshooter, you're better off using the spray against 2 or more targets if you can get them. Overall, I really like this property. I'm a sucker for AoEs. And finally, we have reload. A limited number of shots can be made with a weapon that has the reload property. A character must then reload it using an action or a bonus action, the character's choice. For most characters, this will never come up for anything outside of one weapon, because you have so many shots before a reload that you can just keep on using your bonus action to reload round after round. This of course means that you don't have your bonus action very often, but it's better than losing an entire action. It does come up for monks with key-fueled attacks, as they attack more often and consistently need their bonus action to do so. Before we get into the items or weapons itself, it's time to talk about World Anvil. World Anvil is a great tool that will help you optimize your world building. You can make sci-fi settings, medieval fantasy settings, anything you want, you name it. And World Anvil will help you along the way with fantastic guides. Speaking of optimize, my friend Hatwolf made this epic world and they actually managed to win an award from World Anvil. Congratulations, Hatwolf, I'm very happy for you. Sometimes they do these fun activities with the community to spark more creativity. By the way, I was looking around at people's stuff today and you won't believe what I found. There's a power metal band that I listen to called Twilight Force and apparently they used World Anvil.
Kobold! I love that band!
Yeah, it's super cool. I'm not versed in their lore or anything, but I think it's awesome for a power metal band, and it's great for their fans. World Anvil is awesome. There's so much cool stuff being made. I highly recommend you check them out. And to help you optimize, use the code PACK at the checkout and you'll get a 51% off any yearly subscription. Back to the video, now let's get into the actual guns. First up is the Renaissance items, namely pistols and muskets. These weapons don't have any new properties, but they do have the changed ammunition property. Second, there's modern items. There's automatic pistols, revolvers, hunting rifles, automatic rifles, and shotguns. Automatic rifles is the only one with the burst fire property. And finally, we have the strongest weapons, the futuristic items. We've got laser pistols, antimatter rifles, and laser rifles. Now we get into the fun stuff. Should you use these weapons at your table, or are they too strong? For the math, I'm going to be assuming that all weapon users are level 1 to 20 champion fighters. Obviously, if we optimize better, we can get a lot more damage out of the weapons, like through Battle Master, for example. But the thing is, and this is just my guess, by the way, you'll likely not find optimal builds with these weapons at most tables anyways. So this is likely a good enough comparison for 99% of you, especially with the conclusions I'll make. All builds are custom lineage and thus start with a feat. The non-optional rule build gets crossbow expert at level 1, sharpshooter at level 4, and then they max out their dexterity ASAP. All the other builds pick up gunner at level 1, but do the same otherwise. I'm looking at the max damage output per item category. That is musket for Renaissance, hunting rifle for modern, and the anti-material rifle for futuristic. For anti-material rifles, specifically the reload is a bit of a pain from level 11 and onwards. That's why I've split the math in two. One where you don't get to attack as often because you have to use your action to reload sometimes, and one where someone else reloads for you, or you have multiple antimatter rifles, or something like that. Basically, you don't need to worry about reloading. I do take into account action surge by assuming 8 rounds of combat per short rest, and for the impact of reloading, I assume 4 rounds per combat. Here are the results. As you can see, the hand crossbow, musket, and hunting rifle are very close to each other, with the hunting rifle reaching about 23% higher numbers at the end compared to the hand crossbow. With cycling different weapons, the antimatter rifle doubles the hand crossbow's DPR, while without cycling, it ends up around 30% higher, with bigger differences before level 20. Based on these numbers, as a DM, I would allow Renaissance items. I think they're great. Even with an optimized build, they're great. The modern items aren't really that crazy either, but they're basically just a straight up upgrade from the Renaissance ones.
Also, the modern guns don't fit in people's settings.
That's true, but you could make it work through an artificer, for example. Anyways, I don't recommend you use this, but you absolutely can. I don't think it's that crazy. As for futuristic, don't do it. It's too crazy. You could probably do it in a one-shot or meme game, but other than that, don't do it. Finally, I want to talk about the gunk, the gun monk. Link in the description if you want to see the build. Some people think monk relies on optional firearms to create a good build, but in reality, it's totally functional with something like a longbow as well. It's just 2 damage per hit less than the musket, which will be about 2 DPR. It's not a big deal. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say about firearms. End the video. Thank you for watching. I hope I earned your subscription, and if I didn't earn it, then I have to optimize better. Anyways, have a nice weekend everyone. Play lots of D&D.
Bye bye.